Okay. Good morning to all of you. Am I audible?
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yes, sir. Audible, sir.
Okay. Okay, so I think we have started particles of optimization, and then we have discussed up to inertia weight. Okay. So EC student, today you have joined. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So few classes are left. Okay. Because from your department, I don't know what has happened. It was a combined class, but electrical and electronics. But anyway, your group was not included. But yesterday there was a discussion, and finally we found out that you people are left with this. I think Chayan sir, he was taking 2 classes only. Yes or no? Chayan sir, he is taking classes on this soft optimization technique for EC student.
No, sir.
Oh, so you have not attended any classes of the soft optimization technique?
No, sir.
Oh, sorry. So we'll do something for you. No issue. For electrical batch, we have discussed particles on optimization. Okay, we'll continue this and then we'll actually take a new algorithm. A brief of these details, all the YouTube videos you can refer first. Okay, because it is available under electrical engineering department. Okay, so can you access that electrical engineering departmental YouTube video? Okay, can you access?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so first you go through, I think I have taken 5 lectures. So first you go through those lectures. Okay, and I'll definitely cover this thing later on. Okay. Now, this constriction coefficient. So in particles on optimization, there is another method that is known as the constriction factor approach. Okay. So we have discussed inertia weight approach, where we have seen that there is a significant improvement, but in constriction factor approach, this is a separate kind of approach in particles on optimization technique. So how this constriction factor is introduced and what is the utility, why we are going for this constriction factor approach, we'll discuss in detail. So this technique introduced a new parameter that is known as let's say lambda as a constriction factor, and it was developed by the scientist Clark. Okay, the Clark, he has introduced this constriction factor approach. Now, this coefficient is extremely important to control the exploration and exploitation trade-off. Now, again, I should discuss this thing because CC batch, they are new. Exploration and exploitation, these two things are very, very important. Exploration, it generally, it includes the global search, and exploitation, it is the local search. Okay, any optimization technique, it consists of 2 different steps. One is the exploration steps and second is the exploitation steps. Okay, I will give you a glimpse of that because it is the first class for you. Any optimization technique, what is basically done, there is a search space, and within that search space, the let us say particles, they are moving. Okay, for example, let us say in the sky we see that birds are moving. Okay, or in a fish pond, the fishes are moving in a random direction. Actually, they are finding for the food. Okay, everybody is trying to survive. Okay, every living beings. So but when they are searching for the food in the random fashion, they actually find a path, a path which is actually desired to get their food. Now, this searching process, how to reach to the actual food location, so it depends upon the different kinds of path taken by the different fish, or let us say different birds. So in the particle sum optimization, we are assuming that these particles are basically birds or fishes. Okay, so they are moving in the random direction. Their objective is, in this case, in the optimization technique, either we want to do some maximization or we want to do some minimization for any kind of mathematical function. Now, this soft optimization technique, it is one of the category of the artificial intelligence technique, in which we are doing the optimization of different kinds of mathematical functions. So this optimization, it is applicable for every discipline. It is not only for the electrical engineering or electronics and communication engineering. It is applicable to any engineering field, or even to the management or any kind of other field also. So only we need to, there are different kinds of complex mathematical function, how to minimize those, how to calculate the minimum value, how to calculate the maximum value. So those things we can, that is not possible with the help of pen and paper calculation. Some of the functions, they are actually non-differentiable. Those functions are not, we will not be able to differentiate it. So those functions can be handled with the help of this kind of technique. So when we have such kind of technique, when we apply, because you actually there are certain steps of the PSO we have discussed. So if you refer those lectures, so you will get those idea. But in your syllabus also there is a genetic algorithm, but this genetic algorithm we have discussed in the last semester for the electrical engineering student. But again, you can refer, those lectures are also available in the YouTube. Okay. So this particle sum optimization or any optimization technique, it has basically, there are two steps. One is the exploration steps and another is the exploitation steps. So exploration means it is a global search. So within that search space, okay, so these birds or fishes or these particles, they are moving. So this is a I will say this is it is a rough kind of search. They are possibly locating the location of the food sources, or in terms of the optimization, the value of the optimum value, it is located in that particular search space. So I will show you with the help of some diagram, so that you can understand, because this is a past class and this you have missed certain classes. So we'll give you a brief kind of thing, so that at least you can pick up what we are actually discussing. Just a minute, give me one. I'm connecting my board. So let us say this is a fx is a function. It is x square plus sin x plus log x. Now, x is between, let us say, 1 to 2, for example. Now you are asked that what should be the value of this fx minimum. You are supposed to calculate fx minimum and fx maximum. So there may be some complex kind of problem. Any kind of mathematical function will be there. So let us say this is a search space. In this search space, the value of this optimum value, this is, let us say, this is the optimum value. This is the optimum value. Now, when you are searching, when you have started this optimization technique, these particles or these birds, they are located here. Okay. So let us say you are taking n number of particles. You are taking n particles. So these all particles, they are moving in a random fashion. They are moving in a random direction. You don't know what is their movement. Okay, they will move here and there. But finally, their objective is to reach to this space. Okay, they should reach to this optimum value of this space. Okay. So when they are searching in the whole this search region, okay, and they are basically finding out this is the possible location of the optimum value. So that is basically your global search. Global search means that is a basically kind of a rough search technique by which they are possibly locating what is the possible location of this food source or the optimum value. This particular global search, it is also known as the exploration. This is known as the exploration. Now, when they have reached up to this point, okay, and they need to reach to this particular value, then there is a fine-tuning thing. So that is basically known as the, when they are searching around this particular possible location of the food or the optimum value, then that is known as the local search. This is known as the local search, or it is known as the exploitation. This is known as the exploitation. So any technique, any kind of optimization technique, it has basically, it is broadly classified into first step is the initialization, second step is the exploration, and third step is the exploitation. So first you have to initialize, then second step is the global search, and third is the local search. Now, different optimization technique, they are actually basically following different kind of philosophy. So here we are adopting the behavior of the fishes or birds. Those behaviors are imitated to actually solve this mathematical problem, but there are n number of optimization algorithms are there. Few optimization algorithm techniques we'll discuss in this particular syllabus. Out of that, maybe shuffle frog leaping technique, then you have a bat optimization technique, and another part, I think, artificial bee colony technique it is discussed. Okay, so you will get a variety of optimization technique and you can apply in your engineering problems. So now we'll see this coefficient is extremely important to control the exploration and exploitation trade-off to ensure the convergence behavior and also to exclude the inertia weight W at the maximum velocity. So in the previous technique, we have the inertia weight. Okay, so in this particular technique, this constriction factor approach will remove this omega value and the maximum velocity. There are chances of, I think the electrical engineering student, they can understand that these particles, they are actually reaching the boundary space, and we have to limit these particles within the boundary space. So those problems actually removed in this particular constriction factor approach. So there is a perfect balance between the global search and the local search. If we are more giving stress on the global search, we may actually deviate from the actual solution. And if we are more giving stress on the exploitation, then ultimately there may be some chances of the local optimum. That means we will not get the actual optimum value, but it may actually deviate from the optimum value. Now, the Clark's proposed velocity update equation of the particle I for the j dimension is calculated. So you know this is the basically velocity updation equation for the any particles for the particle sum optimization. Normally, this lambda is excluded normally in the particle sum optimization. So the velocity at t plus 1th iteration for ith particle and jth dimension, this will be Vijt. That means whatever velocity it was there in the previous iteration plus phi1. Phi1 is a basically random number. Okay, that is equal to C1 into R1, and phi2 is C2 into R2. So C1 is 2.05 and R1 is a random number. C2 is again 2.05, R2 is a random number. And this is a P-based minus Xijt plus phi2 into G-based minus Xij. So what is personal based and what is group based we have discussed previously. So actually every particle will try to achieve its own personal best and what is the group based of all the particles. Now, along with this, in this particular constriction factor approach, this lambda factor is introduced. Now, this lambda is basically 2 by 2 minus phi minus square root of phi square minus 4 pi. So this value we are supposed to calculate. Okay. So phi, we know that this phi is already known to us. So we'll substitute this value and we'll get the value of lambda. Now, if there are certain things which we need to understand, phi is basically It is 2.05 plus 2.05. It is almost more than 4. So we'll see if phi is less than 4, then what will happen? If phi is greater than 4, then what will happen? So if phi is less than 4, then all the particles would slowly spiral toward and around the best solution in the searching space without convergence guarantee. So phi, if it is less than 4, then we will find that the actual solution will reach to the optimum value at a very slow rate. Okay, that means the rate of convergence of that particular particles will be very less. So in this case, we need to avoid this. Phi should not be less than 4. Now, if phi is greater than 4, what will happen? Then all the particles converge quickly and it is guaranteed. So we can understand that the value of phi should be chosen in such a way so that there will be the optimum solution will get at a less number of iteration, so that the computational time will be less and we can reach to the solution at a very faster rate. Now, the amplitude of the particles oscillation will be decreased by using the constriction factor, and it focuses on the local and the neighborhood previous base points. If the particle's previous base position and the other neighborhood base positions are near each other, then the particle will perform a local search. On the other hand, if their positions are far from each other, then the particles will perform a global search. So we need to understand that if, let us say, a particle is moving in the search space, and if it is near to the actual solution, that means the optimum solution, then the particle will actually perform which search? Who can tell? If let us say, the particle is near to the optimum solution, so the particle will perform the local search or it will perform the global search. Who can tell this thing? Please tell me. If, let us say, any particle, if it is near to the solution, okay, whether that particular particle will perform the local search or it will perform the global search.
Sir, global search.
Global search, if you do, then what will happen? You are around this solution. Now, you need to fine tune your solution. So if you are performing the global search, you may be deviated from out of this particular solution. You may be going in some other direction. So if any particle which is near to the optimum solution, we should perform the local search. That has to be remembered clearly. Okay, so it is near to the solution. So near to the solution means it is we should do the local search step. Okay, is it clear? Any doubt? Is it clear? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Huh? Should I repeat? Should I repeat?
No, sir.
Okay, fine. Okay, so the constriction coefficient guarantees convergence of the particles over time and also prevents collapse. The disadvantage of the constriction coefficient is that if a particle's personal base position and the neighborhood base position are far apart from each other, the particles may follow wider cycles and not one. So this is the one of the thing that is a disadvantage of this particular problem or this particular this constriction factor approach. So if the particle's personal base position and the neighborhood base position, that means the group base, if they are far apart, that means they are located far away. So it may take a number of cycles to be converged. It requires more number of cycles and computational time will be more. And finally, it may so happen that the particles will not converge at all. So this is the disadvantage of this particular technique. Now we'll see that in the how we have to do the initialization. That is very, very important in the particle zone technique. Okay, so how we should make this initialization? So when we have to start let us say PSO technique, so what is the process by which we can actually initialize? So in PSO algorithm, initialization of the swarm is very, very important because proper initialization may control the exploration and exploitation trade-off in the search space more efficiently and find the better. So let us say in this optimization technique, you have to understand that we should start the initialization should be done in a proper way. There is a proper method how to initialize any optimization technique. So we'll understand that thing, that how we can initialize these particles. So usually a uniform distribution over the search space is used for initialization of the swarm. The initial velocity diversity of the swarm is important for the PSO's performance, and it denotes that how much of the search space is covered and how well particles are distributed. So initialization, how we will initialize, we have to understand this thing. So let us, I will show you that how to initialize in the particles of optimization. So let us say you have a n number of particles. Okay, let us say you have a n number of particles. Now let us say x1, this is x1, x2, x3, and this is up to xn. And you have a population np. This is, let us say, 1, 2, 3, up to 50. So what will happen when you will initialize? So any function to be initialized, let us say any variable you are taking, that is p equal to, it is rand into upper bound minus lower bound. Okay, this is the way we should initialize any particle. So how it will happen, you see, let us say the x1, it is limited between 2 to 5. So, and you will, this cycle equal to 1 to, let us say, 100 end. So if you write this command, okay, if you write this command, that means I will remove this thing. This thing should not be written actually. This thing should not be written because this is for understanding. This is not to be written in the code in the MATLAB. You should not write this thing. So this is cycle equal to 1 to 100 then end. So what will happen, you see, if let us say you are taking variable x. So x is between 2 to 5. So it is p equal to, that means this variable will be taken first in the first cycle, it will be p1. So that means this value will be this value. Okay, first cycle, this one. Okay, so p1 will be equal to rand is, let us say rand 1 if you write, so it is, let us say 0.2 you are getting. So this is 5 minus 2, so this is 0.2 into 3, so it is how much? How much it will come? 2.6. Okay. .6, 0.6. Okay. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Huh? It will be 0.6. So is it clear? Is it clear? Is it clear or not?
Clear, sir.
Okay.
Clear.
This way will actually initialize all the particles in the particle swarm optimization. Okay. Next. So now we'll start something, a new algorithm. So for the EC student, now there will not be any problem. We'll start a new algorithm. So this is a different kind of algorithm, that is shuffle frog leaping algorithm. So shuffle frog leaping algorithm, from the name it is clear that there are some frogs are there. Their behavior, it is actually animated in terms of optimization algorithm. So we have seen many frogs. Okay, normally in the rainy season, we can observe they are actually their sounds we can hear. Okay, and they are basically finding the foods on the in the ground. Okay, so how this behavior actually it is animated with the optimization algorithm. So how these behaviors are animated, that is the basically our interest of the study. Now the shuffle frog leaping algorithm, it was first invented by Yusuf and Lance in 2003, is a recent addition to the family of the memetic algorithms. So this memetic algorithms, we will understand what is the memetic algorithm. We'll discuss in detail. So this is the one of the addition in this optimization technique and the shuffle frog leaping algorithm, and it was invented by this particular scientist. The SFLA is inspired by social cooperative behavior of frogs while searching for better food position. So this shuffle frog leaping algorithm, it is a nature-inspired algorithm. Nature-inspired algorithm means the behavior of the living beings, it is animated. So how their socio-cooperative behavior, it is there. So those behaviors are actually animated in this particular algorithm. So, and how basically every living beings, I will tell you, every living beings, they are basically searching for foods. So those, how they are searching for foods, their behavior is basically animated in terms of optimization algorithm. Now in our optimization algorithm, our objective is to minimize a function or maximize a function. There may be a minimization problem or there may be some maximization. So it depends upon what is the type of the problem which you are actually applying. So in SFLA, the population of the frog is divided in equal number in each memplexes. Now what is memplex? So memplex is, it is a kind of a colony kind of thing where a group of frogs, they are actually living on that particular location. So it is a colony. We'll say a colony kind of thing where many frogs together, they are actually living. So when they are actually hungry for the food, they are moving out and they are searching for the food. Okay. So this division is based on the fitness value, and the frog with best fitness is placed in first memplex. However, frog with worst fitness being placed in the last memplex. So I will just tell you how it is done. So let us say you have n number of frogs. There are n number of frogs are there. Now again, whatever we are doing, there is a direct link in our mathematical problem. Okay. So that means there are n number of these frogs are actually, we'll say these are n number of variables. We have n number of variables in the mathematical problem. So n number of frog, it corresponds to n number of variables. Now, this n number of variables, they are actually forming some, it is correlated in a mathematical function. So it is explicitly expressed in a mathematical function. Now, this function, it has some minimum value or it has some maximum value. So depending upon the type of problem, either we are going to minimize this function or we are going to maximize. So when we have to do this kind of problem, there is a term called the objective function. Objective function. So this objective function, it is basically the function which is there in this particular problem. So this function is calculated. This function is calculated in every iteration steps, so that we'll calculate the different values of this objective function. I will tell you this. Let us say fx equal to x1 square plus x2 square. So x1 is basically between 1 to 2, and x2 is also, say, let us say between, it is also 1 to 2. So first what will happen, if you calculate, let us say in the first iteration, x1 is taken 1 and x2 is taken 1. So what will be value of fx? So this is basically 2. So this is basically your objective function. This is your objective function. Then next iteration, x1 is 1.2 and x2 is 1. So you will get something back. Okay. So this way you are getting so many values. So what has to be done? You have to sort these values. You have to sort these values. So best value you have to put first. and the worst value you have to put last. Now this best and worst, it depends upon the type of problem, which type of problem you are taking. Suppose you are taking the minimization problem, so the lowest value will be taken as the best value and the highest value will be taken as the worst. Whereas in the maximization problem, the best value will be the maximum value, whereas the lowest value or the least value will be the worst. So this way you are supposed to sort it. Okay. So when you are sorting it, then what will happen? Now let us say, now we'll come to the frog leaping algorithm, shuffle frog leaping. So frog 1, let us say frog 5, it is having the, we are doing the, let us say, minimization problem. We are doing the minimization problem. So everywhere these frogs will find out whether it is a minimization problem or it is a maximization problem. The frogs, they are basically trying to find out where is the food. But in your problem, mathematical function, you are finding out where is your optimum. So let us say this frog 5, it has the lowest values. Then we have the frog 2, frog 6, frog 7, frog 8. Okay. Then let us say 1, then 9, then let us say 3, then you have a 4, and then you have a, let us say 10. Okay, this is the big. Okay, let us say there are n number, 10 number of frogs are there. So total value is n equal to 10. So what will happen? This frog, the best one, they will go to the first memplex. So memplex is what? Memplex, it is the colony where the frogs are actually locating. Their location, the living location. Then next frog will go to the next memplex. Then the third frog will go to the next memplex. This way, they are actually moving into different kinds of memplex. So that means depending upon their fitness value, their objective function value, their performance, their ability to search the food, they are actually sent to different location, different memplexes. So this division is based on the fitness value, and the frog with best fitness is placed in the first memplex. However, the frog with the worst fitness being placed in the last memplex. Now, the shuffle frog leaping algorithm SFLA has gained popularity in solving multimodal, nonlinear, and complex optimization tasks required in various fields of science and engineering, social science, and even in management. So everywhere, if you search in the internet, if you search, then you will get many fields, not only in your branch, you will see that many places this particular algorithm it is applied, and it has got immense popularity because it has the ability to solve the complex optimization problem. Okay, multimodal, the nonlinear problem, all those kinds of function it can handle. Now the basic overview of this SFLA. So the main idea behind the working model of the SFLA is the combination of a group evolution and exchange of information by shuffling at global level. So basically what will happen in the shuffle frog leaping algorithm, these frogs, when they are located in a colony, they are exchanging their information. Actually, when they are working, so that time they are basically sharing their information. They are sharing their information, where is the actual location of the food. So based on that particular information, other frogs, they are actually moving on different direction. So how they are actually locating the foods. So they are sharing, they are exchanging their information. So at the global level, that means within that whole search space, let us say a small field is there. Within that, let us say 10 number of frogs are there. So when they are actually sharing this information, they are actually sharing where is the actually location of the food. So at the global level, they are basically exchanging their information regarding the location of the food. So first the population is initialized and the members, the frogs, are arranged in the descending order of their fitness. So the best one will be taken first and the least one will be taken last. So that is the basically way everywhere this particular topology or this philosophy it is adopted. So then the frogs are divided into the memplexes having equal number of frogs in each of it. So what will happen? Each memplex, we have an equal number of frogs. It is not like that. In one colony, we have a 10 frogs, then another colony, we have 5, another colony 2. No, that is divided equally. So then each memplex is allowed to evolve for a predefined number of times. So everywhere, what we'll do, these frogs are divided into equally, and each memplex it is allowed to evolve. Evolve means they will basically they will be allowed to grow. Okay, they will be allowed to grow so that they can actually search for the food. So every time the worst frog moves towards the best frog in the memplex. So everywhere it is the psychology of the living beings. The worst one will always look for the best one, because the worst one will always try to achieve whatever the best one has achieved. So based on that, every worst frog, they are actually trying to move towards the best frog. So this modified position is kept only in case it improves the fitness of the worst frog. See, we have to understand this philosophy. See, if I tell you only the formula of the shuffle frog leaping algorithm, you cannot understand. First of all, what is the philosophy of this particular optimization algorithm? We should first understand, then you can actually understand the equation part, and later on you can actually implement in your engineering problem. So this modified position is kept only in case it improves the fitness of the worst frog. Otherwise, the worst frog is moved towards the global base. So the worst frog, the position of the worst frog is improved. It is improved means it is basically allowed to move towards the best frog direction so that it can also improve. Still, if the position of the frog is not improved, then the worst frog is discarded from the population and a new random frog replaces it. This elimination of the non-improving frog is known as censorship. So this is the very, very important thing which is actually implemented in this shuffle frog leaping algorithm. The worst one, if let us say it is given chance, so if after that chance, if that particular frog is not improving the performance, that means it is not moving towards the best frog. So what will happen? That particular frog is discarded, and that particular phenomena, it is known as the censorship. Censorship means it is basically eliminated from that particular population, and a new fresh frog is introduced so that that particular frog can perform better whatever the frog it was having the property. So after repeated this local search process for a fixed number of rounds for each memplexes, all the memplexes are merged and the frogs are arranged in the descending order of their objective functions. So what will happen, you see, initially what we have done, we have a n number of frogs. So we have divided them. We have first divided them and into different, and divided them. How we have divided? We have basically sorted them out. The best one was moving in the first, then the second, then the third, and so that what will happen, under that each memplex says the equal number of frogs are present. So after when they have actually they are given the chance to move in the best direction under each memplexes. So if we observe that certain frogs it is not performing better, so that frogs are discarded, a new one is introduced, and later on after that what we will do, we'll merge all these memplexes together. We'll merge all these memplexes together, and then we'll sort it out in the descending order of their objective. So this iteration continues till the termination criteria is not set. So you have everywhere you have a fixed number of iteration cycles. So if you have reached that till the maximum number of iteration cycle, then yes, if that particular solution, whatever solution we are getting, that is that solution you have to take the optimum value. So the local search within the memplex encourages exploitation of the search. So I have told you that particular graphical thing which I have shown you, that local search means it is the exploration, and global search means it is the exploration, and local search means it is the exploitation. So local search within the memplexes encourages the exploitation of the search space. As the evolution within the memplex progresses, the frogs tend to converge near the base frog of the area. So what will happen? Everywhere under each memplex, every frog, they are trying to improve their performance. They are always trying to improve their performance. How they are trying to improve their performance? That is basically with the help of some mathematical equation. We'll discuss in detail those mathematical functions. First, we'll understand the philosophy. The philosophy, if you can understand, then this mathematical function that is basically replica of those philosophies. Now, the shuffling towards the end of each evolutionary round depicts the exploration. So at the end, we'll have a kind of exploration. As the execution progresses, all the frogs converge towards the global base. So at the end, everywhere, every solution, everywhere we can see that it is reaching to the global base. Now this this initialization I will skip just a while. Later on we'll take this thing. Now the mapping or the mimetic evolution of the frogs to the shuffle frog leaping algorithm. Now, what is the mimetic evolution? We should understand what is the meme. Okay, a meme is a spreading information templates that affects human and animal minds and changes their behavior. So so for example, the human behavior, if you listen a song, so your behavior will it will affect your mind something. So similarly, the animal, if they listen some sound, so their mind is also actually it gets changed. So memes are spread by those who possess them. So actually, this meme, it is a kind of sharing information. It is a spreading information. A pattern is known as a meme whenever an idea or information template influences someone and the template is repeated or transmitted to someone else. So suppose, for example, for you people, if you listen a song, very good song, so what will happen? You will share with your friend. Okay. So because you have got the influence by listening that song and then you are sharing that particular song with your friends. So that means it is a meme which you are actually sharing with your friends. So similarly, the same behavior actually it is observed in the living beings or these animals. So otherwise the pattern is not a meme. So if that is the case, so meme it is categorically it is defined, it is a pattern whenever an idea or information or template influences someone and the template is repeated or transmitted to someone else. So if you listen that song again, that is a good one, what will happen? You will listen that once again. So otherwise you will share with your friends. So something, it is a kind of the human psychology or the animal psychology. So notice that all transmitted information is called the mimetic. It is basically all the information which we are actually sharing, that is a mimetic information. Examples of the memes are songs, ideas, catchphrases, lost fashion, techniques for making pots or building arts. So these are the examples of the memes. So have you understood what is the meaning of the meme? Anyone, you have any doubt? What is the meaning of meme? Have you understood what is the meaning of meme? Yes or no? Please tell me.
Sir, repeat once more.
Okay. Suppose meme is a kind of information which affects the human mind or animal mind. The best example is a song. When you listen a song, what will happen? It will affect your mind. If that song is good, what will happen? You will again listen it and you will share that information with your friends. Okay. It is a psychological thing. So it is a kind of basically information. It is a pattern which is basically shared, it is transmitted, and if that is a good one, then it is repeated in the it is basically repeated, okay, and it is shared between the others. So that is basically meme. Is it clear now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, any doubt from anyone? What is the meaning of meme? And based on this meme, this mimetic evolution process, it has evolved. Okay. So we'll continue this class in the next day. So for your syllabus in the upcoming internal test, it is will have the particle sum optimization. That is the syllabus for your first internal test. Okay. From my portion, it will be this particle sum optimization. Okay, so let me take your attendance, just a minute. one more thing, those who wish to do some project on this application of the soft computing technique, they can approach me directly so that I will give you some problem based on this optimization technique and you can solve it. Okay, this is basically for both the electrical and electronics batch student. So if you want to really implement it in your project or any kind of let us say you want to do some kind of paper, so there you can actually do this thing. Okay, a good project you can do. So you can approach me, I will help you. Okay, thank you. I will close this meeting.